Feeling sluggish or weighed down? Could be a sign that you are not getting enough daily fiber. Metamucil's fiber helps promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. It gels to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Get better digestive health for a better you with this easy way to get more fiber. Find Metamucil at your local CVS. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Welcome to News du Jour. You may be wondering, why am I, Annie Bowles, here hosting this podcast? I usually start by telling people I'm a political baby. You see, my parents met working on Capitol Hill. By the time I was 2, I had been in my first political commercial and even got lost crawling around the West Wing. Don't worry, Al Gore found me. My family then moved abroad when I was 9, and I attended an international school in Brussels with kids from all over the world. And it is this type of global perspective that I also bring to our show. I graduated from American University in DC after studying political science and art history, as well as interning on both sides of Capitol Hill. I even interned down the hall from where my parents met. I'm now pursuing a professional certificate in journalism at NYU in conjunction with Rolling Stone magazine. I guess I was always that friend in the group who cared deeply about not just what was going on politically, but also globally. I often kept my own friends informed through high school and into young adulthood, so I guess I've always done a version of this show. I'm genuinely passionate about following the news, and I'm here to break it down for you guys every weekday. We always strive to be a calmer space to get your news. Or, as one listener put it, like getting your news from a well-informed bestie. I'm so glad you're here. Hey guys, I genuinely don't know where to start here. The past week, my head has just been spinning. I feel like the closest thing I can really use to describe how I'm feeling is if you were ever in like a play in middle school or high school, or you were in like some kind of performance or like a big sports game maybe, and like your entire life is about that, and then it happens and it's over, and you kind of have this weird feeling like, what do I do with myself now? Or maybe like after final exams in college, I remember feeling this way, where it was like literally every single day for like weeks or months, you were waking up and thinking about this one thing and working on this one thing. And then it happens. And then when it's over, you're like, what do I do with myself? Like, what is my purpose in life? Like, I could do anything, but I also want to do nothing. And, you know, it's kind of, you feel a little bit lost for a second. It's very anticlimactic. So that's how I'm feeling, or that's how I was feeling really last week. And I'm still kind of finding my footing after things. So obviously, I had never planned on our bill getting vetoed, and I had never planned on taking time off from this podcast to work on that. This was all very unexpected. And at the end of the day, this podcast is like my baby. It's my favorite thing that I do, and I never want to stop. But I had a vacation planned since January, and that's not happening this week or next week, but it's happening the following week. So I'm kind of debating right now if I should just go ahead and take all of this time off, or if it's worth coming back on for you guys for 2 weeks and then going back off. Anyway, if you guys have feedback or thoughts or want to slide into my DMs just about any of this, please do. I love hearing from you guys, like whether it's in real life and someone comes up to me and is like, I listened to your show, like that means the fucking world to me. But also if you guys just want to reach out, email, DM, whatever, I love hearing from you guys. Any thoughts and opinions on how this show can help support you, I want to hear it all. So for today's episode, all we're going to do is walk through what happened after I dropped off the face of the earth for you guys after the veto. How did we end up getting the Oklahoma Survivors Act across the finish line? So much to catch you guys up on when it comes to that. And I first and foremost wanted to start off with a huge thank you to anyone and everyone who helped us. Like even listening to this show at all is a huge help, but whether it was, calling a congressman, liking a post, or sharing our podcast episode with other people, telling people about the Oklahoma Survivors Act, you guys helped make a huge difference with this effort. Like I honestly can't understate it. People knew in the Capitol that we were watching, and that can make a huge difference. I mean, I feel like the shadiest work that happens in politics happens in the shadows, and it happens when no one's paying attention. And that was not the case with this. We were tuned in, we were plugged in, and we we're going to make sure we were keeping our eyes on this, and they knew that. So in the end, we garnered over 20,000 signatures on our change.org petition, which ended up being a pretty valuable bargaining chip behind closed doors with lawmakers and with the lobbyists. The petition really seemed to pop off after the veto, you guys. It's like everyone kind of woke up. I had a lot of friends of mine who were influencers who were like, oh, fuck no, and basically started sharing it like crazy. And I really appreciate all of the help that we got on that. And I think that's kind of where we left off. Obviously, none of us expected that veto. It was very out of the blue for like a number of different reasons. We definitely thought the governor was going to sign our bill. But the governor's office called us within hours of the veto, wanting to take a meeting ASAP. Colleen, who is the executive director of Oklahoma Appleseed and our fearless leader in this effort, she was intrigued, and at a minimum, she wanted to look them in the eyes with the truth and hear what they had to say about why they vetoed our bill, because their statement made absolutely no sense, you guys, given our bill. They wanted to pass the Oklahoma Survivors Act. It just sounds like they had some concerns about the language. They wanted it a little bit stronger in certain places and basically wanted to add a paragraph that got more specific about the connection between the crime and the abuse. We were happy to add that paragraph in because the cases that we're championing, of course, all of the crimes stemmed directly from the abuse. So it really doesn't change the outcome for the survivors that we are championing, like April Wilkins, Kiki, Sherry, Erica. All of them are sitting in prison for crimes that they had to commit to protect themselves. And we are prepared to prove that in court. So anyway, we went ahead and accepted the changes. And just so you guys have a heads up real quick, this is like a side note. We have 14 cases that we're going to be starting with, but I will get into that later. But I will definitely be like taking you guys along for that ride to the extent that I can. Maybe even like in retrospect, like after someone gets freed, we can talk about their case and why it fell under OSA. But we went to battle for the updated bill. We accepted the changes. Senate Bill 1835 was now the Oklahoma Survivors Act. Unfortunately, one of our authors, though, was so upset with Stitt for his veto because it honestly didn't make sense. He was wedded to 1470 and he just loved 1470 so much. He felt there was nothing wrong with it at the end of the day. So he was kind of having trouble getting on board for Senate Bill 1835. If you guys remember, there was kind of like a 2 or 3 week span where like nothing was happening, and it was just maddening for us and our team. And that was why we were having a little bit of trouble getting everyone on board for 1835. But at the end of the day, time was running out for the survivors. And for us, this was not about political games or settling scores or, getting back at Stitt. It was about doing the right thing. These women were beaten, raped, kidnapped for days. They had their very lives and that of their children threatened. So we knew the threats were real. They knew the threats were real. And yet they are the ones now sitting in prison. We had to set aside our pride so that we could help them. Because if we didn't, we knew no one else would. So we suited up and did the immense legwork of running our new bill through the entire process in about half the time it took us to get the first bill through. Needless to say, we were wiped. Frankly, I'm still wiped, spent, numb. I feel like I haven't fully processed the experience. I definitely think this week I'm feeling a little bit better. We had a super lazy weekend here at home. My son's birthday is next weekend. So, we have a lot of family coming in town and everything. So I'm just like really, I told my husband, let's just lay low and just go on walks and eat pancakes. And I think that definitely helped. Anywho, we passed our bill in the Senate for a third time. To make that make sense, we passed it the original time, if you guys remember, with 1470. Then we did the veto override, and then we did it with 1835. So we passed it 3 times in the Senate, almost unanimously every time, and we passed it in the House for a second time, once with the original bill and then with 1835. The energy for both the final votes was definitely bittersweet, you guys. It was raining. There's a lot of traffic coming in. We had been there before. So while things were going our way, and that was definitely positive, we didn't feel like celebrating yet because we knew things can change on a dime. We got an even bigger standing ovation, though, from the House floor the second time around, and it definitely brought tears to our eyes. Then the waiting happened again. The dreaded waiting that we had been through for the governor to take some action. If you guys remember, he has 5 days to react to a bill, and there's 3 different ways that he can react. So he can sign it, in which case it immediately becomes a law. The governor can also ignore it, in which case it would become a law passively after 5 business days, or he can veto it, in which it's dead. So he signed it. When it landed on his desk, as we understand it, it was like maybe a day and a half, but just like that, we had passed 1835. We had passed the Oklahoma Survivors Act. It was such a strange feeling. It felt like sprinting to the finish, breaking the tape, and then collapsing out of sheer exhaustion, like disbelief. We gathered in Tulsa for a little celebration with some of our sponsors from DC, family members of the survivors, and I didn't share too much about that just because, again, I kind of felt like crawling into my shell a little bit to process all of this, and that is coming from maybe like one of the most extroverted people you'll ever meet. Like, you guys know I'm probably an oversharer in every situation, but for some reason this just felt super intimate and private because we had been through like a battle to get this done every day, just asking ourselves, what else can we be doing? What else can I be posting? What do they need to know about? And what's it gonna take to get this done for the survivors? Luckily, like I said, my family has a beach trip planned in a few weeks, and it's also my son's second birthday. So we'll have lots of time to sort of like do family things and process and breathe. But the Oklahoma Survivors Act is a law, you guys. It goes into effect September 1st. And that day, we plan to file all the paperwork for sentencing relief for our survivors. That said, it will be a major push as well. Not a legislative push anymore, but a legal one. And it's going to require a lot of funding for quality attorneys to apply for that resentencing. And basically, go into the courtroom and put forth the best possible evidence for each case. So if you are an Oklahoma attorney or if you know one, please consider getting in touch with Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice. They're based out of Tulsa, but I'm pretty sure you could be an attorney anywhere in the state to help out. And if you're interested in representing someone pro bono or at a reduced rate, definitely get in touch with Appleseed. These survivors really deserve the best. And definitely with our 14 that Appleseed's going to be taking on, we're going to get the best possible outcome for them by gathering all of the evidence and making sure that we have every little piece in line. But if you're not an attorney, and even if you don't live in Oklahoma, you can donate to Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice, and I'll go ahead and put a link to do that in our show notes. There's so many reasons why you should donate to this cause. Like, let's say you live on the East Coast and you're like, Oklahoma has a lot of dark and scary statistics. I want to help. This is an organization that is actually getting things done here. That is very rare. I've heard people talk before about the nonprofit industrial complex, where basically a lot of nonprofits take money in and don't really do very much with it. They just pay salaries and say they're doing good stuff and, maybe raise awareness about things. But this is a group that is literally creating laws and helping people get released from prison, knock on wood, that everything goes according to plan. But that is the biggest push right now, is getting attorneys so that our survivors can have the best foot forward. So please consider donating. This is the type of thing where even $20 goes a long way. We also have bigger donors who are helping to sponsor Appleseed, but that kind of crowdfunding aspect cannot be, underappreciated. If we all gave $20, I bet they would have enough money to hire at least a few more attorneys to help them get a few more survivors out. So please consider, reaching out to attorneys to work with Appleseed or donating. I'll put the link again in the show notes. But we made history, you guys. And if you did any of the actions, any of the calls to action I talked about at the top, you helped make history with us. I cannot say that enough. You guys showing up helped us get this done. And I can't wait to take on more adventures like this in the future together and take you guys along for the ride when it comes to the survivors getting released. And that for today is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "I learned today that it is the weak who are cruel, and that gentleness is to only be expected from the strong." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from
Feeling sluggish or weighed down? Could be a sign that you are not getting enough daily fiber. Metamucil's fiber helps promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. It gels to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Get better digestive health for a better you with this easy way to get more fiber. Find Metamucil at your local CVS. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.